You touched on the 20 questions that you would look at, like when you're asking somebody what's a 1099 or W-2. Can you give us like two? What are two things, if you look at somebody, you would say this, if you ask them a question, this makes them a W-2 or a 1099? Because I think a lot of people sometimes get confused. Like, is this person a W-2 or a 1099? Like from your experience, what would you ask either a company or an employee, right? If you're, say, doing an audit or something along the lines of that, what would you ask them that would push them one way or another?
One of the key areas is control. Does the person have control of that individual's work? And do they provide them the tools of the trade?
What if it's, say, like somebody in, let's say, like a call center-ish, right? Let's take real estate investors, right? Let's take that, for example. A lot of people have outbound call people, right? And for whatever reason, a lot of people push these people out 1099, right? But versus they show up every day, they have a list they call off of, the phone system they call off of. Talk about that. Like, what would that make someone?
Okay, so you've just pointed out several things. First of all, they're showing up every day, probably in a similar location. They're provided all the tools of the trade, which means they've got a desk, they've got a computer, they've got communications equipment, whether it's phones or whatever, and they're given a script and told how to do it, and they're being monitored.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
That makes them
doesn't make them an independent contractor. It makes them an employee.
Exactly, right. So now, okay, so let's take it one step further. Now, people that do that, right? So they'll go W-2, they switch them to 1099. They think that this is, I'm going to save money,